Since its founding in 1983, Bank Islam has been leading the Islamic banking industry across Malaysia and Southeast Asia. It has now been awarded Islamic Bank of the Year in Asia in 2015. The company's managing director, Dato Sri Zukri Samat, joins us today to discuss the success of the bank. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mercedes.
Bank Islam was a pioneer in Islamic finance across the ASEAN region. Can you tell us more about its inception?
Well, Bank Islam was actually established in 1983, basically initially to provide banking facilities to the Muslim communities. However, actually Islamic banking has started in Malaysia way back in 1963 with the establishment of a government-sponsored pilgrimage fund called Tabung Haji. The aim was to mobilize the savings of Muslims who wants to form pilgrimage in Mecca. Well, we started in 1993 with a very small capital of only USD 20 million, and we employ about 300 people, 6 branches, and at that time, the product was very, very limited, a couple of financing deposit product. But since then, we have made significant progress in this area, and today I'm proud to say that the shareholders fund of Bank Islam currently stood close to USD 1 billion. And we have 144 branches, still growing, and we are currently employing more than 4,000 people. And in terms of product range, we have a host of products which basically can cater for all the needs of the Muslim or non-Muslim alike. We have product for the consumer, product for the SMEs, as well as for the corporate sector as well.
So Islamic finance offers an alternative to conventional finance. What are the key attributes that differentiate the both?
Well, basically, Islamic finance works on the principle of Sharia or Sharia principle, which prohibits the taking of riba, which is interest, and of course other so-called unethical activities such as gambling, drinking, and so forth. It basically encourages the sharing of profit and loss between the customers and the banks via some contracts such as musyarakah financing as well as mudarabah. And the other factors basically that differentiate Islamic finance with conventional is that in Islamic finance, every transaction must be supported by the underlying securities, underlying collateral, or underlying assets, so to speak, meaning that there is a very close link between the financial transaction and the real economy. So that's why I'm saying they not necessarily mean that, Islamic financial institutions are not subject to the vagaries of the economic situation. We do, but in terms of effect, it's not as much as the conventional bank because the built-in mechanism, natural built-in mechanism, which I mentioned just now. A case in point is during the 2008 financial crisis due to the subprime, or they call it taxing assets. Islamic financials are actually least affected because they do not exposure in this kind of asset because it's not allowed actually under Sharia. So today, I'm proud to say that in Malaysia, actually Islamic Bank can stand head and shoulder with our country conventional counterparts.
So I'm guessing because of all of those benefits of Islamic finance, you offer your services as well to non-Muslim population. So what would be the profile of the non-Muslim client?
Well, actually, we have a wide range of non-Muslim customers. Huge numbers are actually small and medium enterprises, SMEs. They get attracted to the Islamic finance because of the way that it's being financed, that even though you may actually get your financing in the form of floating financing, but there's always a ceiling rate that's being imposed in the documents. The other reason for Malaysia to actually flourish so much in Islamic finance is because Islamic finance basically is agenda, national agenda, and the government has given a host of incentive to encourage actually Islamic finance. So in the case of those who actually obtain financing through Islamic bank, they are given a stamp duty exemption or rather discount of 20% for up transaction. And even the corporate non-Muslim are also attracted to Islamic banking because in Malaysia, sukuk actually is very big, right? And this corporate basically that the sukuk market is so liquid and huge that it is more cost effective for the corporate actually to issue sukuk. And a lot of funds in Malaysia are basically looking for this kind of asset because they are Sharia fund.
Tell us about the innovative banking solutions that Bank Islam offers.
Well, innovation is the key to any organization for the success. And I'm proud to say that Bank Islam has been the first in so many areas. And in terms of the consumer financing, we are the first bank to introduce what we call as a payment holiday for housing loan customers, meaning that for every year, our customers are given the flexibility of 2 months to skip the monthly installment. The idea basically is to give extra cash to our customers who are in need during 2 months of the year. And in Malaysian's case, a lot of people are taking the advantage of skipping the installment in the month November, December, because January is basically a school-going season, and that's a time where they actually need extra cash, extra money to prepare the children to the school. And of course, for the bachelors or for those who doesn't have the commitment for the children, then they took the opportunity to actually to go for holiday during November, December.
So we've just started 2016. What are your goals for the year ahead?
Well, personally, though I say that Bank Islam has actually moved significantly towards the, I think we have progressed a lot. But if we were to compare basically with the conventional bank, we are still pretty small. So the intention of the bank is basically to consolidate our presence in domestic market. Okay, we have 144 branches right now. I think we want to grow further, and the target is by 2016. We want to have at least another 6 more branches to make it 150. And again, as I mentioned, that even though our shareholders' funds are 1 billion, compared to the, I would say, top 3 conventional bank in Malaysia, we are still very small in terms of size. The biggest bank in Malaysia, conventional bank, in terms of shareholders' fund, is actually more than 10 times Bank Islam. So our intention is basically to look for merger partner other than try to grow organically. And the second thing that we harbor the ambition to actually to go outside Malaysia. We don't have a footprint outside Malaysia now, except for we have a small stake in Amanah Bank Lanka, which Bank Islam helped to establish. Amanah Bank is the first Islamic bank in Sri Lanka. So hopefully that 2016 or beyond, we'll be able to actually expand our footprint outside Malaysia. And certainly we are looking at the ASEAN market, where there is actually a basic infrastructure for Islamic bank to start operating. And naturally, I think the most interesting country within the ASEAN region is Indonesia. We have a population 250 million and largely are Muslim customers. But we are waiting for the right time to go, and also the valuation must be right.
So you have big and ambitious goals for 2016, but what are the challenges moving ahead?
Well, I think challenges for Islamic bank is not much different from the conventional banks. I think the pressure on the bank now is really to increase the capital. I think under new ruling, the Basel III, I think you need to provide more capitals, and also the regulatory so-called regime now has become more robust. As a result of which, I think the cost of doing business also has increased because you need to comply with all these requirements. For example, the LCR, liquidity coverage ratio, where the bank has to keep a certain amount of liquid asset. That basically is the cost of the bank. The third thing is competition. All right, I always say that banking is just like a limbo game. How low can you go? Right? So that's always present. And in Bank Islam's case, it's a bit more peculiar. I think we have an embedded competition, conventional counterpart, because Bank Islam, when we started in 1983, we are the only Islamic bank. But now, we have 22 Islamic banks in the country and fighting for the same pool of people who are so-called expert in Islamic finance. And Bank Islam, being the first Islamic bank in the country, has become naturally the favorite hunting ground for other banks, basically to pinch our stuff. So for us, we need not only to get new people, but we have to retain our people.
With all these challenges, where do you foresee the Islamic banking industry in 5 to 10 years?
Well, from Malaysian perspective, Islamic banking will continue to grow because, as I mentioned, that it is a national agenda now. The government basically has set a target that we want to make Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, as a global hub for Islamic finance. So there is a host of incentive given by the government. For example, I mentioned just now that we have a 20% stamp duty, and then there are a host of incentives. So in terms of the size, the government is projecting that Islamic banking's asset is going to grow from the current position of about 25% of the total banking asset to 40% in the year 2020. And globally, I think there is also a sudden interest in Islamic finance. It is being regarded as one of the fastest growing sector today. Even if you look at the share of the share of the Islamic banking asset globally, now is about $2 trillion US, and it is expected to grow to $5 trillion in 5 years' time. And I'll see more and more so-called non-key Islamic financial jurisdiction has shown interest in actually Islamic finance. A case in point is basically the UK government, who has just recently issued a 5-year sovereign sukuk of USD about 340 million, and it is almost 10 times oversubscribed. So I think the future for Islamic finance is very, very bright.
Oh, that's good to hear. And being a successful corporate citizen yourself, how does Bank Islam give back to society?
Well, CSR, corporate sustainability, is something very close to our heart, and I would say is part of DNA of Bank Islam. So we have actually several programs which we are doing yearly on how to help the needy, the poor, and the people that actually, to help the people whom we operate, around we operate. For example, like every year, we have a special program called Housing for the Hardcore Poor. We spend at least USD 250,000 a year to build the houses for the hardcore poor in the rural area of Malaysia. And in terms of education, we have actually adopted 13 schools throughout the country. Not only provide financial assistance to the school, but we also provide something we call as leadership trainings, survival skill to these people through the various workshops that we organize. And recently, we have just launched a new product, what we call as e-donation, where we put special place terminal at the mosque, at the entrance of the mosque, to allow the Muslim basically to donate to the mosque in a very easy and convenient way. If these days, normally people just pass the so-called the basket around, never put the money. Now with the new product that we have, what they need to do, just bring the debit or credit card, just swipe at the entrance of the mosque, and actually the mosque account will be credited straight away. And this is just to us because we don't charge the mosque anything. We provide the terminal free, and every single cent that people donate will go to the mosque. We don't even charge what we call interchange fee.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and I wish you the best of luck in the future.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.